day, everyone. I am Josephine Pearl, and today I'm going to talk about the Chapter 17 Special Topics. Senior Citizen Law grants Filipino senior citizens a 20% discount on goods and services, including those in hotels, restaurants, and recreational establishments to support their well being and enjoyment of life. So, Consumer Act of the Philippines, Republic Act 7394, protects consumers from health and safety hazards, unfair business practices, and misleading sales. It promotes consumer rights through education, access to redress, and involvement in policy making. So, enforcement is handled by the Department of Health, Agriculture, and Trade and Industry, which set safety and quality standards for products. So, Indigenous People Rights Act recognizes and protects the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples, particularly their rights to ancestral domains, cultural integrity, self-governance, and participation in services like education and health. So the law promotes their full inclusion in national and development while respecting their traditions and customs. The UAE Draft Charter on the Rights of Minorities emphasizes the protection of the rights of minority groups, ensuring no individual faces discrimination based on national, ethnic, linguistic, cultural, religious, or sexual identity. It promotes legal education on minority rights and guarantees the individuals from minority groups are entitled to fair trials under international law. So Republic Act Number 9072, the National Caves and Cave Resources Management Protection Act, aims to conserve and protect caves and their resources, which include animal life, plant life, cultural artifacts, and other natural materials. So the law encourages cooperation between the government and stakeholders in managing caves for scientific, educational, and tourism purposes. And Republic Act 9147, Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, focuses on conserving wildlife species and their habitats. It regulates the collection and trade of wildlife, promotes biodiversity, and ensures compliance with international conventions. So the law also establishes guidelines for the protection of threatened species and allows for the regulated breeding of wildlife. In the Republic Act 7586, the National Integrated Protected Area System Act so establishes a national integrated protected area systems to preserve native plants and animals through through the creation of protected areas. So this system includes national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and other important ecological areas, aiming to maintain ecological balance and ensure sustainable resources use. Republic Act 8293, the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines, aims to streamline the process of registering patents, trademarks, and copyrights while enhancing an enforcement of intellectual property rights. So this law protects the right of creators such as investors, authors, and artists to ensure their work or creations are not used without permission. For instance, a hotel cannot use the brand name Italianes if it is already trademarked, even if they operate in a related industry. So Republic Act 7610, Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act, focuses on protecting children from abuse, exploitation, and hazardous work. It sets a specific guidelines on child labor, ensuring children under 15 are not employed except in certain cases with parental consent and government approval. In anti-prostitution law, defines a prostitute as a woman who habitually engages in sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct for money or profit. This law clarifies that multiple instances of sexual intercourse are not required to be considered prostitution. One act of selling sex qualifies. So the penalties for prostitution include imprisonment or a fine, depending on the court's discretion. Anti-pornography law prohibits the public distribution or exhibition of obscene materials, immoral plays, or indecent shows. It applies to those who publish or display obscene literature, films, or performance to promote violence, pornography, or immoral behavior. So the law defines obscene as something that offends public decency and indecency as acts against good behavior. So offenders, including authors, distributors, and exhibitors, can face penalty when these materials are made public, especially when they corrupt or deprive individuals of decency. So anti-hijacking law criminalizes the hijacking of an aircraft. It applies to anyone who forces a change in the course of destination of an aircraft, whether it's registered in the Philippines or abroad. So dangerous drugs law targets the trafficking and use of a dangerous drug seeking to protect citizens, especially the youth, from their harmful effects. Anti-smoking law aims to protect the environment and public health by regulating air pollution. It includes provisions to reduce air pollution, encourage self-regulation by citizens and industries, and promote public participation in quality monitoring. Anti-smuggling law criminalizes the fraudulent importation of goods into the Philippines. It applies to anyone who imports, assists in importing, conceals, buys, sells, or facilitates the transportation or sale of goods that have been illegally brought in the country. So, law on violence against women and children defines violence against women and children as any act or series of acts committed by a person against a woman or their common child. So these acts result in or are likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or economic abuse. And laws of human trafficking addresses trafficking in persons, which involves the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or receipt of individuals through force, fraud, or coercion for exploitation. This law aims to protect individuals, particularly vulnerable groups, from exploitation, abuse, and trafficking, ensuring justice and accountability. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, the UNCRC, was adopted in 1989 to protect the rights and welfare of children under 18. It ensures that children are protected from violence, abuse, and exploitation, including sexual abuse and trafficking. World Congress Against Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children. So the World Congress, first held in 1986 in Sweden and again in 2001 in Japan, brought together countries and organizations to fight against the sexual exploitation of children. International Law of Tourism. The World Tourism Organization, a UN agency, promotes responsible and sustainable tourism. It created a global code of ethics for tourism to guide ethical practices and reduce negative impacts on the environment and culture. Tourism in the Philippines includes spa and medical tourism aimed to improving physical well-being through treatments, exercise, diet, and medical services. So the Department of Tourism promotes the country as a competitive health destination, offering cost-effective treatments along with the leisure activities. So tourism research supports regional development by enhancing tourism planning and creating business and job opportunities. So the Local Government Code of 1991 transferred some tourism responsibilities to LGUs, with regional tourism councils coordinating local promotion efforts. So the Department of Tourism Planning sector handles the tourism master plan and helps develop new tourism products. That's all for the chapter 617. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.